First things first, how are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm all right, thanks.
Good, good.
Well, before we talk about the new record, quickly I'd like to go back to the beginning.
hmm
Do you remember the first album you ever bought?
Yeah. The first record I bought was a Genuine record. It's called The Life. It was a good one.
What attracted you to this album?
Yeah. A friend of mine, he danced to this one of the certain songs off this album. I think it was called Differences. Yeah, he danced to it in the talent show in high school, and I've always been a fan of Genuine, and so I went and bought it.
And you mentioned dancing, and I believe you yourself wanted to be a choreographer at first.
Yeah. I've always been a dancer. And I wanted to be a choreographer, and so I went and learned the ballet technique and jazz and modern and choreography, and eventually found music, and music really took over.
Do you still remember this point where the music took over the dancing bit?
Yeah, it all started about 4 years ago.
Okay.
I was hanging out in the dance hall, and somebody came and told me, hey, there's this guy bringing his keyboard to school every day, and so I went there, and everybody was just gathering around, and they would take turns singing. And so one day I kind of hopped in there and I sung a little something, and somebody was like, man, you sound pretty good, and so every day we'd kind of sit around and improv about different songs, and that was the start of everything.
What song did you sing?
We would sing, we would make up songs,
Okay.
And so there was a song I made up. It was like, I love my sandwich with chips on the side, chips on the side. It was so weird,
Okay.
but that was the beginning.
And then, well, you mentioned this Genuine, and I read also that Usher was something you liked, and then the soul thing came in. And was Lisa Sawyer, when you wrote that song, was that a turning point for you?
It was a turning point. I think it's cool that was a song that I wrote before I went down that path, and it's cool when I look at when I was looking at Sam Cooke and different artists, and I was mirroring certain things that they did. I mean, you look at stuff like that. They did stuff like that all the time, and a friend of mine had asked me if Sam Cooke was one of my inspirations after hearing that song, and I had never listened to Sam Cooke. I had heard about him, but after that, I started to dig within the classic soul music and really started to see that this is what I wanted to make. I wanted to make all my songs be consistent with Lisa Sawyer.
Do you still remember what mindset you were in when you wrote that song?
Yeah, I first wrote that when I first wrote that song. I had the chord progression, and so I wrote a song about crayons to it, and then eventually something told me that song was going to go a long way, and so after that, I felt that it would be more fitting to write a song about my mother, and it just really flowed, and it came together pretty good.
And what did your mother think of the song?
Yeah, I had the song for a long time,
Okay.
and I never showed it to her. And one time I was,
Why not?
I don't know. I just don't. I'm not a really big I don't like for my family to I didn't want for my family to hear my music, and just that particular song. I didn't want my mom to get all mushy and stuff. But one day I was hanging out with my friend, and she was like, "Hey, you should show your mom that song you wrote about her." And so I was like, "Oh man!" And I eventually showed her, and she broke out into tears.
Okay. And well, you mentioned that kind of got you into soul because somebody mentioned Otis Redding to you. What was it about when you started to discover this music? What was it about it that attracted you to it?
I love how the way that a soul musician in the 50s would deliver a song vocally was way different. You look at a song, for example, like you say, a song by Jesse Belvin, you know, dream girl, I love you so. If you take a modern R&B artist and he sings a song like that, it would be dream girl. You know, just I just love like how straightforward, you know, the soul music was back then.
And like say, was it something you were missing in contemporary music?
I would, you know, I would say so. You know, this that like that simple, you know, quality. You know, like a lot of the contemporary music, it's great. You know, but I think it's really overdone. You know, it's like, you know, a lot going on. You know, and I just love that how, you know, going back to where it all started. You know, where it was simple.
And Lisa Sawyer, as you say, was a catalyst for you. Then did the songwriting change after that?
Yeah, indeed. You know, so after that, you know, finding my new love in soul music, the songwriting changed. You know, I went from, you know, writing kind of like alternative, you know, R&B songs to, you know, writing, you know, soul music.